So, how to not have another breakup or another divorce or losing your significant other. And I'm going to start by saying that I think there's a universal opinion that if people feel chemistry and they feel if they have some common interests, oh, we both like um, spicy food and we both like salsa dancing and we have really great chemistry, so it must be a match. Or we like to go bicycling and we like to go to the beach and we have great chemistry, so here is a match. And that works for I don't know how many weeks. And then the real person starts showing up and you think, okay, I've got to change this person, whether it's a guy or a girl. If they would only do this or do that, then I can live with them. And what you're talking about is that that person is starting to show who they are, their basic characteristics or their basic values, and they're not melding with you. And so then you begin this lifelong makeover. If they will only understand this, and you want them to understand that, so you can go on being with them. And that's a problem. And so this is to help you not, this webinar tonight is to help you not get in relationships that are not meant to be. That's what breakups are all about. You got committed, you got in a relationship that was never meant to be because you didn't understand. We all have agency in this. It's really not so much the other person did it to you, so much as we did it to ourselves, and that we did not understand what our specific values, what our specific requirements were when we got involved with that person that we could not live with. Sometimes you just can't know. But I'm going to talk about how to teach you to ask the power questions that will help you further along. Now, think about why. One of the ways you're going to find out what are my requirements. Well, think about the breakups you've had in the past. Why did you break up? What exactly caused the breakup? And within that answer, you will find some of your requirements. Did that person cheat? Did they lie? Were they unfaithful? Did they not live up to their responsibilities? Did they have addictions? Did they have anger problems? Um, did they have mental health issues? These are things that people tell me that were the cause of their divorces. And if you could have spotted that sooner, and often we don't want to see those things, but if you want a relationship that's going to last, you need to go into it with your eyes wide open. So, in short, we didn't know who they were, and you combine that with our not knowing what our hidden agenda is. We've got a hidden agenda of what we can live with and what we cannot live with. And I'm going to give this example of I have a friend who's a coach. In fact, I've got a couple of stories like this. And she met a guy online and they talked all the time. He lived in California and she lived in Colorado. And it was just meant to be, meant to be, meant to be. This is my soulmate, and he's a coach, and I'm a coach. And oh my gosh, all the values are there. They finally get together, they move in. She calls me. It's a disaster. He doesn't bathe. Who knew? I know that's not funny, but it's funny. And she said, I can't live with this guy. He doesn't take a bath except every every 10 days or something like that. And she said, I didn't know I had that as a requirement, but that's a requirement. I need a guy that takes a bath. So there you go. They didn't stay together. That was a requirement. She had a cleanliness requirement. Who knew that? Then I was thinking of another one, and now it's sort of gone out of my mind. But I had another friend who was a coach, and she was the oldest of a family of 8 children. Well, you know what that sounds like. She had to raise the children. She never really had a childhood. So she said, I don't want a guy who's got any children. That is a requirement. And then she met someone, and he ticked all the boxes of what she did want. And so she put her requirement of no children aside because these are the things she wanted. He was successful, financially resourceful. He had a lot of resources. She felt a lot of chemistry. He was kind. He was funny. They were on the same page at the way they looked at the world. They had mutual passion. He ticked all the boxes, but he had 2 or 3 children. I can't remember if it was 2 or 3, and they were young. And he had custody. Okay. Well, he met all the requirements of what she did want. So they got married. And then they fussed and they argued, and she could not deal with the children. Wendy, my name just went on the screen. I don't know if that means anything.
I think Vic signed in from across the hall.
Okay. Anyway, unfortunately, that relationship broke up. Why? Because of the children. And that was a number one requirement on her list. And she didn't listen to herself. She knew she couldn't deal with children. It wasn't the children's fault. It wasn't the guy's fault. It was nobody's fault. She just knew she couldn't raise more children. She'd already raised 7. She'd already not had a childhood, and it wasn't in her to do it. It was very, very sad. But they broke up. And she told me later, she said, I was a terrible mother. I'm going to have guilt about that the rest of my life. So you need to know what your requirements are. You need to listen. You need to watch. And you're going to have 3 columns. You're going to have requirements, which you could also call your deal breakers. If the person you're seeing has or doesn't have what you need, it's non negotiable. Requirements, deal breakers, they're black and white. If this person is a meth dealer, if he's a child molester, if he lies to you, he's got 5 other girlfriends he's sleeping with, and you think you're the only one, that's it. It's non negotiable. You're not going to trust them. You're never going to have a relationship with them. All right, that's number one. That's one column. Number 2, needs. I call, you got deal breakers, then you got heartacres. Needs are not quite deal breakers, but they're going to give you issues. And I'll talk about what they are in a minute. And finally, the third column is wants. You may want, I call the want a lollipop. You may want a lollipop, but you'll be happy with an ice cream cone. You may want a trip to the beach. You'll be happy with a trip to the mountains. Wants are totally negotiable. You need to know the difference. I had a client I said, let's get your requirements, needs, and wants figured out. And she had on her requirement list, she wanted a guy who liked wine. And that was important to her. But I said, wait a minute. If you find a guy who's kind and generous and funny and rich and handsome and you got great chemistry and he adores you, you're going to throw him away if he can't drink wine? That doesn't compute in my brain. How about that? Maybe that's a need or even a want. Is that really a requirement? Do you see the difference? Can you understand the difference there? So I had another client who said she knew that her husband would loved her when he gave her a surprise birthday party. I had such a hard time wrapping my brain around that. Well, how many birthdays was she going to have before he gave her a surprise party? How much of a surprise would it be? Anyway, and I said, let's take a look at that. First of all, maybe that's a very old want. Maybe there's something underneath that's not really a requirement. Maybe there's something there that's more that you want from your husband. But if he gives you everything else and doesn't surprise you on your birthday, you're going to get rid of him? I don't think so. I don't think that fits in a requirement category. Requirements would be something like addiction free. Now, there are a lot of different addictions. There's gambling, alcohol, drugs, sex. Addictions are very serious, and it doesn't mean that people can't change. But how deep is that addiction? How long do you want to hang around before they get it straightened out? Those are the questions you'd ask yourself. Emotionally stable. I remember reading a research study recently, a Pew Research study that said 97% of men, they want an attractive woman and they want her to be emotionally stable. It's very important to them. Women want to be attracted to the man and they want him to be financially secure. They want a man who has resources. Men don't say that, but women do. Okay, he wants her to be emotionally stable. She wants him to be financially well off. That's the difference between men and women. Both men and women want someone who is honest. That's usually a requirement. Faithful, mutual passion, a shared vision. Let me talk about that. That sounds, yeah, that's more important than you realize. In research studies, you know, if you meet someone in college, you're both in the same environment. But when you get out of college, you may find out his dream is to live in the woods with no electricity or running water and hunt for squirrels and possums to eat. And your dream, your vision is to live in the Mediterranean on a yacht. Those visions do not mesh, and not having a shared vision can break a couple up. Okay? Meeting in college, you're all in the same pool together. When you get out of college, you may find your vision is different. So it's a good thing to ask someone, if you could do anything you wanted to do, what would that be? Ask them that, because it may be completely different from what you're thinking of. Trust shared spiritual beliefs is very important. Loves children. I say this because I've seen couples break up because one person wants to have children and the other one does not. Mentally healthy and even tempered. Some people cannot live with someone who has emotional meltdowns. All right, those are black and white requirements. Let's talk about needs. Needs might be someone who keeps agreements, all right? And by that I mean sometimes people have ADD and they forget to meet you at a certain time at a certain place. They don't mean to, but they're not organized. That's another need. Some people want someone who's organized, and some people just aren't. They're just not organized. They need a partner who helps them be organized. They might need someone who's affectionate. Some people are not affectionate. They might be passionate at certain moments, but they might not be affectionate all day long. Some people want a good listener, but they're not going to throw him away if he's not a good listener. You might think, oh, I've really got this person's attention. He's listening to me, and all of a sudden he goes, oh, look at that butterfly. And you were just in the middle of telling your very deep story. And that's the way we walks out of the kitchen when you're in the middle of a story. And it's like, where'd he go? I've heard a lot of women say that. And some people are good listeners, some people are not. Now we're talking about needs right now. Some people might put that in the requirement list, but these things I'm talking about are negotiable. You can negotiate them. You can help the person learn to listen better. You can help them keep agreements. Like, we're not talking about something sinister, okay? If you find out that the person you're with is a gangster and kills people, that's a deal breaker, okay? That's cut and dried. These things being organized, you can help them be organized. All right. You might want someone who's encouraging. They share domestic chores. They have good grooming. They take a bath. They're supportive. They get along with your friends and family. Now, let me say this. This list of needs and other needs, they're always going to bring you issues. You're going to have issues around these things. And I always share with people that I had an issue, a need with my husband. He never used to be on time. On time was if he was there within 2 or 3 hours. And it just made me have a meltdown. His issue with me was that I'm very picky with my food. There's very little I can eat, and he can eat everything. We all have issues. You negotiate them, you work them out. I'm not going to get rid of him because he's never on time. I'm going to help him be on time. Thank goodness he didn't get rid of me because I can't eat a lot of food. Okay. He figured that out. He negotiates with me. He takes granola bars for me. All right. Wants. What is a want? It could be you want to go to a football game, a baseball game, you've got a trip you want to take. Now, the power questions. This is what you do when you meet someone. Aha, this person's got possibility. This is what you want to do. I had a client, for instance, who had 9 dogs. And she saw this guy and she thought he was interesting. And so she said, I got here a little late tonight because I had to feed my 9 dogs. And if he went, oh, You have 9 dogs. I don't like dogs. You're out of there. That is never going to work. Those 9 dogs were her children. She had outfits for them all. They had clothes for all the holidays. They could go pick them out. And somebody goes, "Ooh, I don't like dogs." That is not a match. Okay. If the guy had said, 9 dogs, oh, how wonderful. You must be a wonderful person. Okay, I like you already. All right. Or whatever. You could say, I got here late because I had to feed my 3 children. And they go, oh my God, you got 3 kids? Forget it. That's not going to work. Your children are a gift in the world. Someone is lucky to know them. And if they look at that as, quote, baggage, your children are not baggage. They're wonderful to know. So you don't need to be around someone who treats you like you have baggage. These are the power statements, power questions you say up front right away to weed people out and not spend time with them trying to make them possible to be with. I'm going to add one more thing and then I'm going to let Wendy ask me questions. Are you in a threesome? Let me clear that up. Think about it. Are you in a threesome? And you're going to know right away. There's you, there's him, or there's you, there's her, and then there's the ex, or a mother, or their best friend, or their sister. There's someone who takes precedence over you. Okay? You are never going to be the priority. And you can tell that almost immediately. There's you, there's the ex. They talk about the ex, they go on vacations with the ex, because after all, we're going to take the children. So we all go together. I've seen this over and over. They might as well still be married to the ex. They call them every day, they go on vacations, they go over for dinner. You would just be the fifth wheel. Listen carefully. If you're in a threesome or a fifthsome, that's very hard to wedge yourself in there. Are they very attached? A girl very attached to her father, a guy very attached to his mother. I'm not talking about healthy relationships, great family love, great family consideration. That's a plus. That's wonderful. He says lovely things about his sister, his mother, sisters, brothers, cousins. Even if he makes jokes about them, that's even better. But be careful that you don't get in a threesome where you feel you're in competition with someone that he puts above everyone, especially you. All right, I'm going to open this up for any questions from anyone.
Okay, Tanya, can you hear me? I have just a couple that.
A little bit louder.
Okay. Let
There.
me turn up the. There we go. Someone asked, I've been sitting here making a list, listening to you of my requirements, and the list is really long. Am I just too picky?
I don't think you can ever be too picky about requirements, but let me say this. Probably 10 are going to be the most requirements you're going to have because they fuse together. If you want someone who's faithful, that fuses together with honesty, trust, uh, monogamy. It's like you take one of those qualities and it covers a lot of others. And I forgot to say this, but you want to make a list of 10 requirements because you may meet someone and you think you've got your requirements in your head, but you think, oh, he's funny, be successful, and we've got chemistry. Well, you also forgot to look for, does he have a hot temper? Is he addicted? Did he have more than two drinks at dinner? Did he just keep drinking? Um, does he have mental health issues? You need that list of 10, and you need to check that list of 10. Here's the other thing, whatever your last boyfriend or husband didn't have, that's what you're going to look for in your new boyfriend. And you can say, oh, this guy is organized and he likes to dance and we have great chemistry. So forget the last one. This guy, he likes to dance. We have great chemistry and we get along great. And then you sort of miss the part where he doesn't have a job, where he can't hold a job, where he's very attached to his ex. You need to keep that list front and foremost. I remember when I first learned about requirements and I would take that list out and I had certain things on there. One of the things I wanted was a person who had friends. I didn't want to be the only battery power. I wanted the guy I met to have friends. I wanted him to be successful. I wanted him to like my children. I had that list. I wanted him to have a sense of humor because you can get lost in wanting him to have what the last guy didn't have. Okay. Did I answer your question?
I think so. I mean,
Oh,
I feel like that did. Let's see. I have one more. What happens if my requirements change down the road?
you
People
know,
change
yeah, that's very good
over
question.
time, correct?
Requirements usually come from our basic core values. And core values really, you're sort of born with them. You didn't ask for them, you're born with them. And those core values stay with you your whole life. If you don't like people who are liars, you're never going to like a person who's a liar. That really doesn't change. You might grow into more forgiveness, more allowing, but that doesn't mean you want to marry someone who has that quality. You might be more understanding about it. You might be able to forgive people for it, but you're not really going to, you find that toxic to your core value. And I would say that that requirement, what you're going to do is protect yourself from people who offend your core values because those people are toxic to you. And if you try and be around them, you'll find yourself getting more and more ill. That makes sense. So you're not really going to change. You're not really going to ever like uh, being very close to a gangster, a murderer, a meth dealer, someone who's very dangerous to society. That isn't going to be good for your core values. It's not going to be good for you. It's going to make you feel weak and ill and not strong inside. You want to choose people who have strong core values like you do that build you up from the inside, who recognize who you are and you recognize who they are and you feel good together.
Those are the only questions we had. No, that's great. Does anybody have anything else? I can unmute.
Anything else?
I think that's it. I do. That was good. We're right over 30 minutes, so that's good timing.
Great.
Well, we'll send out the replay later tomorrow, and then we'll send out another email. I'm sure we'll do another one in January after everybody gets settled back in after the new year. But thank you. Tanya, do you have anything else that you want to say before we go?
I can say that I'm very grateful that my voice held up since I just got my shots. So,
Right. You sound great.
and thank you all so much for coming.